Dates of Dread. 3 horrifying true tales of blind dates gone wrong. Have you ever felt the electrifying mix of excitement and apprehension before meeting someone for the very first time? A blind date. It's the start of a journey, one that could lead to romance, adventure, maybe even lifelong love. But sometimes, that leap of faith takes a far darker turn. Tonight we dive into 3 spine-chilling true blind date stories where charm gave way to terror and trust turned into survival. Viewer discretion is advised. These tales are as real as they are horrifying. Meet Sarah, a 32-year-old graphic designer who had always believed in fate. After months of encouragement from her friends, she finally agreed to go on a blind date. The man, a marketing executive named James, seemed perfect on paper. They decided to meet at a cozy upscale restaurant downtown. The lighting was warm, the atmosphere inviting, and James was charming. Too charming. As they settled into the date, James spoke with confidence, effortlessly cracking jokes and showering Sarah with compliments. Everything about him seemed ideal. But as the night progressed, subtle oddities began to creep in. James diverted conversations back to her personal life, probing too deeply into her routines, her habits, her relationships. And then there was his fixation. He couldn't stop staring into her eyes, occasionally muttering under his breath, "You're absolutely perfect." Sarah shrugged it off, telling herself this was normal first date nervousness. But as the evening continued, James's charm began to crumble. He grew possessive, asking why she checked her phone when it buzzed, or why she smiled at the waiter. By the time dessert was served, the playful warmth had turned into something much more oppressive. When Sarah decided to wrap things up and head home, James insisted on walking her to her car. He wouldn't take no for an answer. As they reached her car, his demeanor shifted completely. He stood in front of the driver's door, blocking her way, and leaned uncomfortably close. "You can't leave. We're meant to be," he muttered, his hand gripping her wrist. Panic surged through Sarah. She tried to stay calm, telling him she needed to leave. His grip tightened. "If I let you go now," he whispered darkly, "you might never come back." Instinct kicked in. With all her strength, Sarah broke free, shoving James backward and quickly locking herself in the car. Heart pounding, she sped off, not daring to look back. Later, she learned that James had a record of stalking and harassment. She had narrowly escaped a dangerous predator. For Jenna, a 28-year-old accountant, blind dates were unusual. When her co-worker set her up with a man named Eric, she was cautiously optimistic. He suggested meeting at a local beach, an unorthodox choice for a first date, but intriguing nonetheless. The idea of a serene, moonlit walk sounded enchanting. It wasn't until much later that Jenna would realize how vulnerable the location made her. Eric was handsome, confident, and full of stories about his travels and adventures. As they strolled along the shoreline, Jenna felt her nerves ease. The waves crashed gently, the stars twinkled, and for a while it all seemed perfect. But as the night deepened, Eric began to shift. His questions became oddly specific. "Do you live alone? Do you walk this beach often?" Jenna answered cautiously, aware that something about Eric's tone felt off. He would pause mid-conversation, staring at her with a strange intensity, almost as though he was sizing her up. Then came the scarier signs. Eric casually mentioned the isolation of the beach. "No one comes here this late," he said, almost too cheerfully. "It's peaceful, but also a great place to disappear. Wouldn't you agree?" Jenna laughed nervously, brushing off the comment, but alarm bells were ringing now. She glanced back, realizing they had wandered further from the main entrance than she'd noticed. Suddenly, Eric stopped walking. He turned to her, his smile gone. "Jenna, you shouldn't trust people so easily. You never know what someone's intentions might be," he said, stepping closer, his voice eerily calm. She forced a smile, trying to mask her fear while looking for an exit strategy. "You're right," she replied, backing away slowly. "I think I should get going now." Eric's smile twisted into something darker. Before she could react, he grabbed her arm. Jenna's heartbeat thundered in her ears. Summoning all her courage, she twisted and kicked, breaking free from his grip. Without looking back, she ran, adrenaline propelling her as Eric shouted behind her. Cold and trembling, Jenna reached her car just as another couple arrived on the beach, their presence scaring Eric off. Days later, police uncovered Eric's past. He was connected to 2 unsolved disappearances. Jenna had narrowly escaped becoming his next victim. Tom, a 35-year-old tech engineer, rarely dated. But when his friend's girlfriend suggested a blind date with her sweet and down-to-earth cousin, he decided to give it a shot. Her name was Rachel, and after a week of texting, they agreed to meet in person. Rachel proposed a scenic drive to a countryside inn she knew. A charming spot, she assured him. Perfect for getting to know each other. Tom arrived early, the scent of pine filling the air as the sun began to set. Rachel pulled up shortly after, flashing a warm smile. She was exactly as her photos had shown. Kind eyes, a radiant grin, and a soft voice that put him at ease. Together, they drove toward the inn, laughter filling the car. But soon, the paved roads gave way to dirt, and the vibrant countryside gave way to dense, shadowy woods. "It's just a little further," Rachel reassured as the car bumped along. Tom felt the first twinges of unease when they stopped. The inn turned out to be a dilapidated cabin, its wood rotting, its windows blackened. Rachel's demeanor shifted the moment they stepped out of the car. Sweet and cheerful quickly turned into cold and calculating. "Get comfortable," she said, locking the car doors. "You won't be leaving anytime soon." Tom's instincts screamed at him to leave, but Rachel was already steps ahead. 2 large men emerged from the nearby trees, their expressions void of emotion. It was a setup. They had been stalking him for weeks, planning to rob him, or worse. Thinking fast, Tom started chatting nervously, pretending to cooperate. He asked them questions, buying himself time as they grew impatient. When one of the men stepped away to search his car, Tom made his move. Using a rock, he struck the remaining attacker, dodged Rachel, and sprinted toward the woods, alerting passing hikers nearby who called for help. Though he escaped with his life, Tom would later discover Rachel and her accomplices were career criminals, known for luring unsuspecting victims to remote locations. This time, their plan had failed, but the terror Tom endured would stay with him forever. 3 blind dates, 3 innocent people seeking connection. What they found instead were nightmares that would haunt them forever. Sarah, Jenna, and Tom are reminders of how quickly trust can be exploited and happiness can turn into horror. As you sit in your comfortable home watching this, think about how easy it is to let your guard down, to meet a stranger and assume their intentions are pure. While most dates may end with laughter or awkward smiles, a small few don't end at all, or at least not in ways we expect. If there's one thing these terrifying experiences teach us, it's the importance of vigilance. Always trust your instincts and be cautious of those who seem too good to be true. Because sometimes, a search for love takes you straight into the darkest corners of human nature. What are your thoughts on these unbelievable yet true stories? Have you ever had a strange or unsettling experience on a first date? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more chilling real-life tales. Until next time, stay safe, because you never truly know who you're meeting.